Hey guys, Sean here from SG Miniatures. In this video I'm going to teach you how I've been painting my Ossiarch Bonereapers for the past few months. This method will work for any skeletons though. It's super quick and easy, and it'll get your skeletons on the tabletop in no time. Alright, let's get to it.
Alright, so over a black prime model, we're going to spray Zenithal Highlight using Vallejo Surface Primer Desert Tan, thinned down to a skim milk consistency using airbrush thinner and flow improver. Before you apply Zenithal Highlight to the model, I'd recommend first testing it out on a paper towel or your hand to make sure there's no spider webbing caused by the paint being too thin. Because we'll be using contrast paint, the level of shadows on the model will be dependent on how generously you apply this highlight. Once you've reached your desired intensity of the highlight, it's time to move on to the first step, applying the contrast paint. I'm using Skeleton Horde contrast paint, but feel free to use a similar bone color from Scale 75's Instant Color or Army Painter Speed Paints. I like to add a little bit of water to my contrast paints to bring down the intensity so that I've got the option to go back and apply touch-ups as necessary without messing up the overall effect of the paint. For this technique, we're going to apply a pretty heavy coat of contrast, making sure to hit the recesses. Once you've finished applying this contrast paint, you should be left with something that looks like this. Once it's fully dried, we're going to move to dry brushing from here on out. Using an old textured cutting board as a texture palette, and I'll be employing the Artist Opus method of dry brushing. I recommend using a medium-sized dry brush for this model. The first highlight we're going to do is using Reddish Gray from AK Interactive. Be sure to dampen your brush just a little, and instead of paper towels, I highly recommend using disposable shop towels. They work better than paper towels because they won't leave bits of paper behind in your bristles. Apply this highlight all over the model, taking care to avoid the shadows. Once this layer is done, we're going to move on to the next highlight using USHABTI Bone from Games Workshop. You'll want to use a little less paint on each of the subsequent highlights, so just make sure you're avoiding the brush as necessary. Starting with this highlight, you'll want to begin focusing on hitting the raised areas. Once you've gotten a dried bone appearance, it'll be time to start making it look cold and icy. To do this, we're going to use Wolf Gray from Vallejo Game Color and carefully dry brush it on. You'll basically want to cover a majority of the USHABTI bone. Start focusing on the areas of bone which are most exposed, so thighs, kneecaps, arms, skulls, you get the idea. Once you've reached a color you're happy with, it's time to move on to the final steps. We're going to use Glacier Blue from Vallejo Game Color to bring a subtle pop to the model. Carefully start dry brushing this onto the tops of all the raised areas, avoiding the shadows. Once this is finished, your skelly is almost done. All that's left to do is apply the final highlight. For this last highlight, we're going to mix some PALLID witch flesh from Games Workshop into some Glacier Blue in about a 50-50 mix, so you're left with a very pale blue. Be sure to apply this highlight sparingly to the model, focusing on picking out the details and raised edges of the bone.
Alright guys, hope you found this video useful. It's a quick and simple method, but it looks great on the tabletop. And if you're interested in seeing the rest of my Bone Reapers, go check out my Instagram. I put the link in the description below. And while you're at it, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching.